This is exactly the wrong time, the craziest possible time.
Would be the smartest political move Nancy Pelosi has ever made.
Oh, Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi flew to Taiwan and in the process caused Fox News to malfunction. So I'm going to get to these amazing back-to-back clips from two very prominent Fox News hosts in prime time, Laura Ingraham and Tucker Carlson, and their very, very different positions on this issue. And I'll also get to later on the reaction to Biden, who was worried about the reaction that he would get from Republicans, and I'll get to how stupid that whole thing is with him, but more videos coming up on that point as well. First, though, to lay the groundwork for these hilarious clips, Axios here, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi landed in Taiwan Tuesday despite threats from the Chinese government that there would be serious consequences for the visit. Beijing claims sovereignty over Taiwan and reacts furiously to any gestures that seem to treat the self-governing island as an independent country. Pelosi, who was the most senior U.S. lawmaker to visit since 1997, tweeted that the visit honors America's unwavering commitment to supporting Taiwan's vibrant democracy. All right, so later on, I will get to my thoughts on this trip. But first, let's first point out that you had Republicans back in this, McConnell and 25 GOP senators back Pelosi Taiwan trip. But now let's get to the fun stuff.
This week, with the blessing of the Biden administration, Nancy Pelosi decided to head to Taiwan.
Now, Biden already tipped his hand about what he thinks.
The military thinks it's not a good idea right now.
We're suddenly on the brink of yet another global war, potentially a nuclear war, because Nancy Pelosi has been given the green light by the White House to fly to Taiwan.
Now, refusing to bow to the people who use slave labor to make T-shirts and flip-flops would be the smartest political move Nancy Pelosi has ever made. Yeah, maybe ever. The only question is, will she let herself be talked out of it by a bunch of nervous Nellies in the Defense Department?
China will take resolute and strong measures to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Are they bluffing? It doesn't sound like it, actually.
To safeguard our sovereignty and territorial integrity.
And of course, when China barks, weak-kneed Biden flacks flinch. No need to be mean, President Xi.
Nancy Pelosi clearly, you just saw the tape, has no understanding of what she is doing or what might happen if she does it.
She never has been known as someone who can be easily intimidated. We know that about Nancy. But if China can get her to back off, it's going to be a crushing blow to U.S. power and our prestige. It's humiliating.
This is exactly the wrong time, the craziest possible time, to send an 82-year-old narcissist to Taiwan.
So Pelosi needs to call everybody's bluff. Refuse to change her travel plans, because if she does not, she might as well give Xi the strings.
Now, conservative media is often known for being on message, for not wavering from their singular position, for being in sync completely, and that's how they often wield their power and impact the typical news cycle, not just for conservatives, but generally, just the general news cycle. This is how conservatives often win out, is because they have a single unifying message. Here, Tucker and Laura Ingraham could not be further apart. And while I typically, I'm kind of in between these two, I'll get to my perspective, but Tucker just straight up lies in terms of how the White House feels about this. Biden, clearly, you saw the tape, is not for this. The White House did not sanction this, yet Tucker claims they did. Like, you can try and make the argument that Tucker's making without being as over the top and just straight up lying the way that he did. But that isn't the Tucker way. Tucker is, often, he's known for lying, obviously. But Laura Ingraham, then you have the complete opposite side, where this would be the single most brilliant move Pelosi's ever made. Then you have Tucker. Pelosi starting a war. What is she doing? It is just comical to see them all over the place on this. They really don't know what to do. And to be fair, most of Fox News and most of conservative media agrees with Laura Ingraham here. They're not on the Tucker side of this. But in doing so, understand Tucker is using this as a way to criticize the entire Democratic Party and Joe Biden, who again was against the trip. Now, this is, I was kind of surprised to find myself agreeing with this individual here, but Thomas Friedman, I have to admit, in this case, he is correct in this op-ed. Why Pelosi's visit to Taiwan is utterly reckless. So let me briefly quote a bit of this here. So he writes, to help create the greatest possibility of Ukraine reversing Putin's invasion, Biden and his national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, held a series of very tough meetings with China's leadership, imploring Beijing not to enter the Ukraine conflict by providing military assistance to Russia, and particularly now when Putin's arsenal has been diminished by 5 months of grinding war. Given all of that, why in the world would the Speaker of the House choose to visit Taiwan and deliberately provoke China now, becoming the most senior U.S. official to visit Taiwan since Newt Gingrich in '97, when China was far weaker economically and militarily? The timing could not be worse. So he goes on with a deeper argument here, a longer argument. But ultimately, what was the point? Was it really worth any risk at all? I don't know how you can claim it was. So, this is why a lot of conservatives like Laura Ingraham are, they at least before were in support of this. Now that she actually did it, they're a little confused about how to feel about this. But because this is one of these examples of showing strength that conservatives love, but ultimately doesn't actually do anything. I don't get what the point of this was. If it really was potentially risking, or potentially is risking, relations with China here, especially because, and this is the most accurate criticism, or the most, rational criticism here, is that this is not Pelosi's job. Her job isn't to impact foreign policy. She is not a part of the executive branch. She's not the president. So for her to do this when the White House, the State Department was saying, don't move forward with this, don't do this, for her to do it is just reckless. And again, that's part of why conservatives love it, is that it is reckless. It's not thinking. It's doing exactly what conservatives want to do, which is continue to escalate. And, not to the point that Tucker, I think, is trying to convey there. But still, it's escalating relations in a way that was not necessary and has no actual benefit. But she did it. And, we're going to see the blowback. So far, it's stuff like this. So China has announced live fire exercises surrounding Taiwan between Thursday and Sunday, requesting ships and flights avoid these areas. So, more of these shows of military strength. More of that here. There's like a conga line of tanks here on the beach for some reason. This is in the southern Chinese city of Xiamen. So, more examples here. China launching more military exercises. Okay. All over a trip to Taiwan. And yes, you can obviously criticize China is ridiculous for doing this. They're ridiculous for the relationship that they have with Taiwan, and attempting to maintain control of what is clearly its own thing, its own democratically elected government. Obviously, I'm not going to solve the problem here, but let Taiwan be. But you see here, that doesn't mean that Nancy Pelosi's trip was a smart thing to do. And I saw some criticisms online about, I'll get to more of this in a second, about, so you think China should be able to dictate who and who doesn't visit Taiwan? Generally, no. But Nancy Pelosi is not just anybody. She is a representative of the U.S. government, meaning her visit there actually has a potential impact on the White House's relations with China. That, again, she should not be dictating through a visit like this. She shouldn't be involved in this or doing something that the White House does not want her to do, when it is not her job to have these relations, to deal with China on a regular basis the way it is with the executive branch. It seemed like a bizarre move on her part. And it's almost like she was coerced into this, since it sort of leaked out that she was going to do this visit. And because of that, she then felt like she needed to actually go through with it. I don't know. Ultimately, though, I don't think it was the smartest thing to do. And here you have Biden. Also, his position, even though he was correct, I think, to not want her to do this, to take this trip, this part is ridiculous. So Biden's national security team made clear to Pelosi, a longtime advocate for human rights in China, why she should not go to Taiwan now. But the president did not call her directly and ask her not to go, apparently worried he would look soft on China, leaving an opening for Republicans to attack him before the midterms. So Biden didn't do everything he could have to try and stop Nancy Pelosi because he was afraid of Republicans attacking him. Because we all know Republican attacks are based on policy and not based on the fact that he's just a Democrat, that they're going to attack him regardless. And the perfect example of that is the reaction on Fox News during this trip.
A speaker not on the same page at the Pentagon, not on the same page as the president, all with the same party. You have the New York Times editorial, Thomas Friedman, saying, please, Mr. Speaker, don't go. It'll ruin our relationship with China. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, look, internally, this is a mess, obviously. I mean, that's the understatement of a day. The speaker was furious that the Biden White House leaked this to the Financial Times, which I think was a huge strategic mistake. Then he comments on her trip and says the military doesn't want her to go. Now she's in a box. She has to go.
Is it gamesmanship that the president of the United States wouldn't throw his weight behind the House Speaker, all in the same political party, and let the world see that there might even be daylight within that party that has both chambers on the Hill and the White House? Or is there something else afoot? I mean, does he just not want to seem touched by this so that he has clean hands to go do, I don't know what you do, because you got Iran, you got Russia, you got China. Your thoughts on it?
I think it's fear. Quite simply, this administration seems to be afraid at every step of the way of provoking our adversaries.
It does not matter what Biden does. Republicans are going to attack him regardless. For Biden to operate on the worry that he would look soft on China, leaving an opening for the GOP to attack him, is so sad. And that is actual weakness, is being afraid of the reaction by people who are not going to support you anyways. And this, I mean, you can get to the heart of the Biden administration, the heart of their issue, with just this alone, is them being afraid of how conservatives are going to react. This is why Biden has largely failed and why his numbers have gone down. His numbers haven't gone down with conservatives. They've gone down with people who support him, with young people, with progressives. That's why his numbers are so incredibly low. So to continue operating this way, it is just maddening. It's completely insane. And you will see now, if you haven't already seen from these clips and others, that they are still finding a way to attack not just him, but also Pelosi. So they are attacking Pelosi because even though she now did what they wanted her to do, people like Laura Ingraham saying it would be the smartest thing she ever did, she did it. But now, she didn't bring along Kevin McCarthy. She should have made it. She should have brought over Republicans with her and made this, show of strength with the two parties together. It doesn't matter what she did. It doesn't matter what Biden does. They're going to attack regardless. There is no consistency here. So, and the other side of that is, even if they aren't attacking Pelosi over, not bringing McCarthy with her, they're then focusing on Biden for being against it. So they may, in a roundabout way, say that what Pelosi did is a smart thing, but then spend most of their time attacking Biden for not being in support of it. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what happens here. Like, ultimately, you have to have, as a president, you need to have a singular focus on what your agenda is, what you promise people, why people voted for you, and focus on those people. Don't focus on people that hate you no matter what you do. But this is a great example of both how weak the Biden administration is and also how completely insane conservative media is.